Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. Now I know I say this nearly every time, but I really do have a good one for you today. I mean, I always try to have a good one for you, and today is no exception. This is Eagle 941 in the Smolensk, the Soviet Tier 10 light cruiser that everybody loves to play and nobody likes to play against. Which, by the way, as of the latest patch, 0.9.3, is no longer available in the armoury. I've no doubt that at some point it will return in some form in the future, but for now there's no way to get your hands on this ship. Before we get started, I'd just like to say, Eagle 941, how can I put this? I have no doubt that he is going to receive copious amounts of shit in the comments of this video, and not just because he's playing the Smolensk. It's really difficult to elaborate without giving away any spoilers, but due to the way his involvement in this battle is going to end, and don't worry, he doesn't do anything toxic, but he makes a decision that he probably realised was going to get him killed. And at the time, I'm pretty sure he thought he had a very good reason for it, but it turns out to have been the wrong decision. Again, it's very difficult to go into specifics here without major spoilers, but I have no doubt that the decision that he makes is going to attract all kinds of criticism in the comments section of this video. However, I'm pretty sure he realises that, and it was pretty brave of him to send this replay in anyway. And I'm very glad that he did, because the way this battle ends, oh, you're not going to believe it. But anyway, I've skirted dangerously close to spoiler territory here, so we're just going to stay in the here and now and comment on events as they unfold. So, first things first, can anybody explain to me why the Shimakaze is using a charge of his smoke generator? Nothing's spotted him. Okay, the fact that he's capping is going to tell the enemy team that there's somebody in the cap circle, but now they know exactly where to look. And more importantly, now they know exactly where to fire their torpedoes. And the Shimmer doesn't have hydro, so he's not going to know there are torpedoes on the way until they hit him. Still, Eagle can use this smoke screen as well. Saves him blowing a charge of his own smoke generator, but I feel a lot happier here if he was using his hydro. And sure enough, there are the Midway's rocket attack planes. And yeah, sure, you know, the Shimakaze was safe inside the smoke screen from the attack aircraft, but he could have been safe inside the smoke screen for 30 seconds longer if he hadn't triggered the smoke until he saw the aircraft coming. And Eagle has triggered his hydro. That's actually pretty good timing. Any torpedoes launched in that smoke screen would be arriving around about now, depending on the speed of the torpedoes, obviously. Meanwhile, one cap circle over to the west, one of the team's two Shimakazes has just been sunk after getting caught in the cap by Salem's radar, and then had the crap shot out of him by a gearing, the Salem, and an enemy Smolensk. And here is Eagle's first victim, an enemy Kremlin. The Midway's rocket attack planes are coming back looking for more. And the Shimakaze has left the smoke screen. What? Why would you... Oh, I don't know. Triggers the smoke too early when he doesn't need it, and then when he does need the smoke, he leaves the smoke screen despite having the added protection of Eagle's hydroacoustic search. I don't know. Well, Eagle's had plenty of shots at plenty of targets, including the Kremlin over there, who, by the way, his name, Big-Titted Police Girl. God bless you, sir. But now might be a really good time, yep, there it goes, to deploy your own smokescreen. Yeah, that could have been nasty. Well, actually, it probably wouldn't have been nasty, because that's the thing about the Smolensk. 16-inch armor-piercing shells go right through it and over-penetrate without detonating. These things can quite happily give flat broadsides to battleships at any kind of range and just laugh as the shells go through for minimum damage. It's one of the many reasons why battleship players hate fighting against the Smolensks. Hang on a minute. Sneaky boy, that's the same Shimakaze. Why did he leave his smokescreen? What is going on with the Shimakaze players in this match? Why are they all leaving perfectly good smokescreens when there are enemy aircraft overhead? Well, he's ducked back into the smokescreen again, so he's going to get away by the skin of his teeth. Ducking back into the smokescreen, of course, would have been an option for the friendly Shimakaze player, but he didn't, and he just got detonated by one of the enemy Zows. So, you know, there's that. Of course, that means that the enemy team now have 2 kills to 0 to go with their 2 caps to 1, so they're way ahead on points. Oh, hang on a minute. Those were some extremely cheeky torpedoes. There they are. Fired through the gap there, presumably from the enemy gearing, who just capped Cap Circle Alpha. Nice try, although I suspect they were more aimed at the Thunderer that just sailed through the gap between those 2 islands over on the port side. Eagle's smokescreen is starting to expire, and it's gone. So what are you going to do now, Eagle? Caught in open water in the Smolensk. Okay, you laugh at battleship armour piercing, but there's a couple of Zows over there, and you won't be laughing at the Conqueror's high explosive or the Minotaur's armour piercing. And you're spotted. Well, you were. Now there's a friendly smokescreen over there from the Summers, but I suspect that the rapidly approaching torpedoes are probably a more immediate concern, and I'm pretty sure one of those is going to hit. Holy shit! Now that was a lot of damage. That's going to take 2 rolls of flex tape. Pretty sure those were the Shimakaze's Type 93 Mod 3s. He was around about 10 kilometers away. They have a 12 kilometer range and they do 23,000 damage, so yeah. Shimakaze torps, unquestionably. Notice that despite some pretty extreme temptation, Eagle is not shooting, because he saw what was happening to the Venezia next to him, who was shooting. And yes, okay, they're spotted by aircraft now anyway, but the Midway's aircraft aren't going to last long, taking anti-aircraft fire from 2 separate Tier 10 cruisers. But the Venezia is still shooting. So he's still visible, so he's still getting shot at. You'll note that Eagle doesn't start shooting until his smokescreen's back off cooldown. Whoa, hang on, more torpedoes? Are those more Shimakaze torpedoes? Oh shit, look at all of those. Yes, those are more Shimakaze torpedoes. Don't worry, the Venezia isn't going to get torpedoed. He's not going to live long enough to get torpedoed. Big-titted police girl in the Kremlin bitch-slapped him with his 16-inch guns instead. The enemy team are now 300 points ahead, and as well as the Conqueror over there, who's gotten a little bit too enthusiastic and is about to sail into a whole bunch of torpedoes launched by the Summers, the enemy team on this flank also have 2 Zows, a Kremlin, a Harugamo, a Minotaur, and a Schmarland. And the 3 other surviving friendly ships on this flank, the Summers, the Kremlin, and the other Smolensk, are all taking billy big steps in the other direction, which is good for them, because it means they might live a little longer, but it's not good for the team, because if this flank collapses, and it looks like it is collapsing, all of those enemy ships are going to sweep around and catch everybody else in a crossfire. Eagle decides that hanging around in this smokescreen just waiting for it to expire is probably not going to be good for his health, and he starts to take steps to get out of here as well. And briefly, it looks like the team are starting to rally. They are pulling a couple of kills back, and obviously with those kills comes some extra points. But the ships getting those kills are all over on the western end of the map, and they're getting those kills at the expense of almost all of their health. So the only friendly ships with any appreciable health pools remaining are all on this side of the map, and they're all running away. But looking at the map situation, maybe that's not such a bad idea. I mean, there's a big line of islands in the middle of the map that they can use to form a second defensive line, and there are no longer any enemy ships, aside from the enemy carrier, surviving on this western side of the islands running down the middle of the map. So even if they do abandon the east, and they are abandoning the east, there's no danger of a crossfire because there are no enemy ships to the north or the west, with the exception of the Midway, to catch them in a crossfire with. And the fact that the Midway's still around here, well, presumably, he hasn't been seen for a while, but it doesn't matter, he's a carrier. He can be wherever he wants and still hit you. And judging by the direction those dive bombers are coming from, he is still up here to the north. They're going to have to do something about that Harugamo capping the middle, though. Wait, how is the Harugamo spotted? There's nobody left alive on the team with radar. The friendly Hakuryu's dive bombers are nowhere near him. Is he shooting while capping and not using his smokescreen? He is! Oh wait, no, there goes his smoke. Too little too late. What is it about the destroyer players in this battle? I mean, I do have sympathy for destroyer players, what with long-range hydro, the proliferation of radar, getting spotted from the air all the time. I mean, they have my sympathy, but seriously, the guys in this battle, they haven't exactly been making things hard for the enemy to kill them. And there's the enemy midway. Rocket planes coming in. Oof, that really hurt. A lot of damage and 2 fires. But has the midway seriously just been sitting there this whole time, waiting to get spotted? The friendly Hakuryu is attacking him with dive bombers, but, well, he's got to get through 2 combat air patrols and the AA defences of the midway, so good luck with that. There are certainly far better targets that the Hakuryu could be expending his dive bombers on, targets that the friendly Kremlin has been begging for assistance with, but so far his pleas have fallen on deaf ears. Eagle's smokescreen is up again. He's not capping alone, by the way, there's a Zhao here with him as well. And they're definitely going to need to hold on to this cap circle, or to take this cap circle, because the enemy team are once again flipping Bravo in the middle of the map. Well, they've taken the cap. At the moment, the only target available for Eagle to shoot at is big-titted police girl over there in the Kremlin. Not quite sure what the Zhao's doing. He just came under torpedo bomber attack. Is he? I hope he's not trying to chase the midway up to the north. You know, I'm going to be honest and tell you right now that I had some extreme doubts about the friendly carrier, the Hakuryu. The friendly Kremlin, Grumbling Toby, has been begging for carrier support, while he and the Summers, with some support from Eagle over here in the Smolensk, have pretty much been trying to hold back the entire remainder of the enemy team, 5 enemy ships, all over there, in the east. Meanwhile, the Hakuryu has been demanding that everybody supports the Zhao, who, I've got to be honest, I don't even know what the Zhao's doing. He's just getting farmed by the midway. If he's chasing the midway to the north, he's not being very quick about it. And even if he is chasing the midway to the north, the midway isn't really the threat. I mean, he's annoying, but it's the 5 enemy ships steaming from that direction who are going to kill you. So, I've no idea what the Hakuryu thinks the plan is here. Well, I do. He thinks the plan should be to chase down the midway, and he's wrong. And at this point, I was all too prepared to write him off as a complete idiot. But that Hakuryu is really going to redeem himself in a spectacular fashion later on in this battle. I see the Zhao is still fruitlessly chasing after the midway and still getting farmed by the midway, but since he can't actually see the midway to shoot at him while he's getting nickel and dime to death, he is at least shooting at ships that matter. So, you know, there's that. Still, look on the bright side, while the enemy midway is busy slowly kicking the Zhao to death, with support and assistance from an enemy Zhao who just turned up, he's not doing anything useful, like spotting the Summers in the middle of the map, which has allowed the Summers, undetected, to get a torpedo kill on big-titted police girl in the enemy Kremlin. And also, it looks like the Hakuryu has finally realised that it's the enemy ships over there that need attacking, and not the midway, who, quite frankly, could be anywhere by now. He's attacking the Minotaur down there with torpedoes. See how that goes. They're in the water. They're active. Yeah, he's got him. So, is this the Hakuryu redeeming himself in a spectacular fashion, Jingles? Oh, hell no. No. You'll know it when you see it. Oh, God. I was just about to say, Eagle's been spotted for an awfully long time without any enemy ships visible, and he's sailing through a very narrow gap. Maybe it would be a good time to pop your hydro, and then that happened. So, but on the bright side, you have to admit it was awfully nice of the old IKEA boat there to sit around with his fingers crossed watching his torpedoes long enough for both Eagle and the friendly Summers to catch him inside visible range. So this should be a kill. I mean, it's a Smolensk shooting a destroyer. Yes, it is a kill. But let's not get too excited. Hold the celebrations, because that happened at more or less exactly the same time as the midway finished curb stomping the Zhao. A loss that was as predictable as it was avoidable and should never have happened. The Zhao went off alone, eventually. He took his sweet time about it against a tier 10 carrier backed up by a heavy cruiser, and he died. Wow, what a surprise. Didn't see that one coming. Said absolutely nobody. The loss of the Zhao is doubly bad news for Eagle in the Smolensk and the Summers, because now that the midway is no longer being distracted by the tedious task of having to finish off a heavy cruiser chasing after him, he's going to be back, and that's extremely bad news if you're in a destroyer or a light cruiser. So, picture the conundrum here. The enemy team are not far short of 100 points away from winning, and they control 2 of the caps. Eagle in the Smolensk, assisted by the Summers, must flip this cap, or they're going to lose very, very quickly. The problem, of course, is the Fun Police, and here they come again. Still, it's only half a squadron of Midway rocket attack planes. What's the worst that can happen? Well, that looked uncomfortable. But of course, it's not so much the damage that the carrier's doing, although it's doing a lot of damage. It's the fact that it's keeping him spotted for a pair of heavy cruisers. It's at around about this point where Eagle makes the decision that I know he's going to get criticised for, and he probably realises it too, which is why it was pretty brave of him to send this replay in the first place. The Midway's busy recycling his aircraft. There are no planes spotting him at the moment. If he just stopped shooting, he would go undetected, and he'd be able to cap in peace. Grumbling Toby in the Kremlin is yelling at him to, for God's sake, stop shooting. But, well, Midway aircraft are coming back, and at this point, Eagle has decided that the match is lost anyway. Even if he ceases fire, those dive bombers are just going to spot him again, and the Zhaos are going to continue to shoot at him, and it's only a matter of time. So he's just getting as much damage in as he possibly can before one of the Zhaos hits him, sets him on fire, and he's dead. Now, at the point where he died, the enemy team were on 915 points. And despite the fact that Eagle did manage to assist in the capture of Bravo before he went down, his death gave the enemy team even more points, and now they're up to over 950. And the match is only seconds away from being lost. Guys in chat on both teams are already saying GG to each other, but Grumbling Toby in the Kremlin refuses to acknowledge defeat, and the Summers is already heading for capture point Charlie. Both of the Zhaos have gone dark, and then one of them starts shooting. Now, it's only a matter of time before the Hakuryu recycles his dive bombers, and they're already on their way, and he was going to respot the Zhaos anyway. But that Zhao wants to win harder. He wants to kill that Kremlin. Now, I know you're all looking at the Summers torpedoes there and thinking, oh, he's going to hit one of the Zhaos and buy them some time. No, he's not. But he is doing something equally important. He's crossed the border into capture circle Charlie, and he's contesting it, which has arrested the enemy team at 983 points, 17 points away from a win, which means now they have to kill something. And right now, that looks like Grumbling Toby in the Kremlin, and they're all going for him, both of the Zhaos and the Midway. Of course, there is another way for them to win. They're 300 points ahead, and there's less than 3 minutes of the game left, so all they have to do is turn around and just sail to the north, stay together, mass their anti-aircraft firepower. The only thing that could touch them would be the Hakuryu, and they'd have overlapping bubbles of AA firepower to deal with the threat posed by him. But it seems more likely that they can kill the Kremlin, and this is where the Hakuryu does something spectacular. Watch this. The full import of what the Hakuryu is doing isn't actually going to be apparent for a couple of seconds yet. I mean, yes, he's dropping fighters to try to save the Kremlin. Midway torpedo bombers are still getting through, and they're still dropping torpedoes, and the Kremlin is going to have to work pretty hard. Actually, watch this. You won't believe how close these torpedoes come. But you can also now start to get an idea of what the Hakuryu is doing. He's not just dropping fighters on top of the Kremlin. He's throwing himself into the line of fire between the Kremlin and anything attacking him. Now, yeah, sure, the Zhaos can still shoot over him. Look at how close this is. That's a Kremlin player sweating bullets right there. But the Hakuryu, don't forget, has impressive anti-aircraft firepower and 2 combat air patrols. And he's taking hits for the Kremlin and basically cock-blocking the Midway. So that's amazing. But despite that, they're still going to need a kill. There just isn't time for them to convert the 3 caps that they have into enough points to overtake the enemy team, who are on 983 points. But what's the enemy Midway doing? I mean, we could be generous and say he's doing the same thing for the benefit of the 2 Zhaos as the friendly Hakuryu is doing for the Kremlin, but, well, who knows? Maybe he is. But if he is, that's not the only thing he's doing. He's also sailing right into all of those torpedoes launched by the Summers. And so just at the precise moment that the team were about to lose and needed a kill to win, with less than 10 seconds to go, the Midway was only too happy to oblige, providing Damien Larkspur in the Summers with his high caliber award and basically giving the win to Eagle's team. I don't know about you, but I thought that was extremely generous of the Midway, and I definitely did not see that one coming. Almost too many shout-outs to cover in the course of this battle. Eagle, of course, for, well, not only coming top of the team and despite his conviction that the match was lost, having the courage to send the replay in order to be criticised by you lot. Damien Larkspur there in the Summers for clinching the win with the kill on the Midway. Grumbling Toby in the Kremlin, who just refused to admit defeat. Jose Luis in the Hakuryu, who despite some questionable decision making in the middle of the match redeemed himself in the most glorious way imaginable by quite literally leaping in front of the Kremlin and taking multiple bullets for him. And last but by no means least, even though we didn't see much of him at all during the course of this battle because he was mostly fighting over on the western flank, where he did pretty well, the Norseman. And I'm giving him a shout out because he's in the Gnome clan, which is a clan of my subscribers on the North American server. Hey Norseman, how you doing? What? My video, my rules. I'll give a shout out to whoever I damn well like. Anyway, that was it for today. Thank you, Eagle941, for sending that one in. Amazingly entertaining battle. I hope everybody else enjoyed it, and as always, stay safe, take care, and I'll catch you next time.